Good day. Welcome to the morning meeting. I'm Mark Halperin, reporting on assignment. Dan and Sean. Meghan McCain will join us shortly to talk about her friend Tulsi Gabbard and her time on Capitol Hill yesterday in support of her friend, and we'll look into where that nomination stands. We'll also talk about Donald Trump's performance at his two public events yesterday, which has inspired a lot of anger and derision on the left. We'll talk about whether there are going to be tariffs imposed this weekend on two U.S. allies. And we'll preview our Sunday night event in Washington, D.C. But first, our top story, the plane crash. Today, both the House and the Senate are out, so no confirmation hearings. There is a White House briefing at 1 o'clock. Caroline Leavitt, I suspect it will focus a lot of questions on how the president behaved yesterday, as well as the ongoing investigation. And at 3, the president's supposed to sign executive orders, which he's typically, more often than not, taken as an opportunity to have a rolling press conference. So we'll see if he does. 5 o'clock, he heads to Mar-a-Lago, expected to arrive a little bit before 8. 9 o'clock, as we say, at this hour, Hakeem Jeffries and Yvette Clarke are supposedly holding a news conference. The Democratic National Committee has convened for its meeting in the Washington area with the run-up to selecting a new chair of the party tomorrow. The current chair of the party did an interview with the Associated Press that I recommend to you if you're interested in understanding where his head is at. I also recommend to you Doug Sosnick's New York Times op-ed piece, which talks about his view of how the party can come back. And rare for a Democrat of prominence, he's critical of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for their role in what transpired. All right. So, guys, there's a lot going on with the investigation into the crash. And there's some reporting that says, look at the fault of the plane side, particularly the question of the staffing of the air traffic control tower at Reagan. Seems to be confirmed by multiple places that it was understaffed. There's also the issue we discussed at length yesterday, just the toxic mix of lots of helicopter traffic in the busiest runway in America. And then there's questions about the helicopter. And I spent about an hour and a half this morning getting incoming texts with a theory, which if you're a subscriber to the X platform, you may be familiar with, about the identity of the third person on the helicopter. This conspiracy theory or sets of accusations is based on part on something which is true, which is they've only named 2 of the 3 people on the helicopter. They haven't named the third person. I heard this morning a report that the next of kin of all 3 people in the helicopter have been notified. Perhaps that's a faulty report, but there's no reason if they've notified the next of kin to the third person that person wouldn't be named, giving rise to a lot of conspiracy theories and X quote unquote reporting. It remains the case. Last thing I'll say, it remains the case, or 2 more things. It remains the case that people who are saying that President Trump's comments about DEI yesterday were not as off base as the critics claim, say, just you wait. There are going to be some facts that come out that back up to some extent what he said. This morning, President Trump on social media, on the Truth platform, 105, please, put out this, okay? This puts the onus on the helicopter. Black Hawk helicopter was flying too high by a lot. It was far above 200-foot limit. That's not really too complicated to understand, is it? Now, again, there's been lots of aviation experts who said perhaps there was miscommunication, that when the tower told the helicopter, "Do you see that plane right?" They said yes, they were looking at a different plane than the one it hit. That's a possibility. But here President Trump is weighing in, again, offensive to some because the investigation hasn't run its course. Go ahead and play 106. This is new footage obtained by CNN and others of the crash. I've not seen it, but we'll all watch it together. And then, Sean, I will turn it over to you to talk about where you think the investigation is, what the unanswered questions are regarding what happened. Okay. Sean, where do you think we are in the investigation and in responsibility and the president's performance yesterday, which has offended a lot of people?
So a few things here. Number one, several things can be true at once. The helicopter can be too high. Staffing can be a problem at the tower. And I think both of those are likely, going to come out. The tower issue is something that if you start to read some of the stories that have been posted in the last 24 hours, the NTSB chairman has been screaming about this since 2023. There are members on both sides of the aisle who've been talking about, there's 3,000 tower air traffic controller positions unfilled. Um, it also is a fact that DEI was a priority of the FAA. So several things can be true at once. How those are presented and how it's handled, I don't think there's any question that we're going to find out what caused this crash at some point. It may take a few months, but it's going to come out. I think the other thing that I'll tell you is when you're in a position like the president or senior White House staff, you get access to a lot of very sensitive information very quick. Some of it is classified for numerous reasons that you can make a comment that you can't support publicly because of the sources that you get it from or what have you. I think the president knows a lot about what happened. And he's being given a lot of justifications for who was where when. So I think that you're going to see a lot more come out, but it'll have to happen in the due process of the investigation for a lot of logistical reasons. But I do believe that multiple things are going to be true when this comes out, that there was a helicopter issue, there's a tower issue, and that there's a potential that one could make a case for how hiring was made.
Sean, regardless of what the president knows, is there a moral justification or is it politically sensible for him to be attacking Biden, Obama, Buttigieg, speculating about DEI? Is that the right thing for him to do politically and morally at a time like that?
Well, when you're the president of the United States, if you've been president for a minute or a year, people are going to say something happened on your watch. And I think the president looks at what happened in the last 4 years in terms of the priority of several of these departments and agencies. I've made this similar case. You go to the Department of Agriculture website prior to the new year, and their number one priority listed on their website, the number one was diversity, equity, and inclusion, not food safety, not farmers, and I think that there is a case to be made that, hey, I just came in here a week ago, and for the last 4 years, these guys didn't have their eye on the ball. And he wants to make sure that people understand that because, he doesn't want to be the guy that gets blamed for
Right.
the issues.
But is yesterday's event at which he asked for a moment of silence and bodies are still being recovered, is that the time to make that argument? Can he wait a day?
So, yeah, look, if it were me, I would probably wait a lot longer than that. I think it's a very sensitive time for a lot of people who are dealing and grappling with the fallout of this issue. That being said, it's Donald Trump. He has his own way, his own style, and if you so he is who he is. He's gotten where he is because of his style and his bluntness. He that's not who he is. So I might do
Yeah.
something a lot differently, but I don't think anyone should be surprised in how he does business.
Dan, some of my liberal friends have written essays on social media about expressing their outrage about what he did yesterday. Not the kind of sentiment we've seen for 10 years from people who don't like him, but pretty emotional and intense. So start with that point, and then again, love to hear what you think about the investigation.
Yeah, I think both of you said it. It's Trump being Trump. He likes to go on the attack. He likes to have a boogeyman. He likes to have someone to blame. This is a political show. And so the politics, I think, of this are kind of good and bad. It fires up his base. It's true to who he is. It's his kind of way of leading. For Democrats, I think it reminds people, like, this is the side of Trump that middle 10% doesn't like. We heard it all year during the campaign. Like his policies, don't like his character and conduct when he behaves this way. And I think it was kind of a friendly reminder to Democrats that, like, he's going to step in it. He's going to lead in his unique way, and people don't love it when he does this, right? It's going to provide fodder for cable news. It's going to provide fodder for TV ads in the fall. So I think it's Trump being Trump. I obviously, it's not my leadership style. I think it's not how most people would. The fact that Sean and your guests last night kind of are like, well, I wish he wouldn't do this, like, reminds you of kind of the 4 years in his first term of like, God, I wish he wouldn't speak like that. So, and I think just on the substance of it, right, that maybe it will come out that there were people who wanted air traffic controller jobs that were blocked because of DEI. So far, that has not been the case.
Or people who were hired without sufficient qualifications.
Who were subservient, because for 20 years, they have talked about this is one of the most stressful jobs in the world. They've had a very hard time filling them. By the way, the reason Trump went from Obama to Biden in his attack is because in those 4 years of his first term, he did not eliminate this. He actually, his administration promoted the DEI policies in press releases. And Punchbowl has a list of them today, right? So, like, even on the substance, but look, it's politics. So he's going to go with the card that he has, that he likes to play. I think it also raises the issue of, right, the FAA director resigned right before Trump took office. He didn't appoint someone his first day, right? He didn't put someone, I'm not saying that's the result, but right now what they're doing is looking to kind of clean house everywhere, to fire people, do more with less, make it more efficient. Well, how do we feel about that at the FAA? Like, it's a policy question. I'm not answering it. But I think it does kind of go to, like, if you're going to blow out, heads and blow out career professionals, get rid of people who have vast experience, you got to hire new people. And they better be the best and the brightest, as Pete Hegseth said. That's very hard to do, not just at the FAA, but across government.
Well, let me just add, what kind of, I wouldn't say upsets me because that's not the right word, but he was on a roll for 10 days. And people on both sides of the aisle said, I may not like this. And we read some of the comments during the show. You brought on several, Mark, on your other, who said, hey, I'm a Democrat, but he's actually getting stuff done. And what yesterday did was give the haters a reason to say, see, and it was a distraction from all of the promises that he's fulfilling on DEI overall, right? Rooting that out on immigration, on, tariffs and things like that, where he's fighting for the American worker. And so what yesterday did was, instead of, I'd love to have CNN continue to go off about, how they're defending illegal immigration. But last night it gave every one of their hosts an opportunity to go after Trump. And so to me, what was sort of disappointing was that it distracted us from what I think have been a really good 10 days.
And Sean, I think the other part of that is the executive order that froze the spending earlier in the week. Both of those things moved the headlines off of shock and awe. He's getting stuff done. It's a new Trump. They're efficient. They're lean. They're mean. They have a plan to chaos on both leadership style and chaos within the government. And so for the Democratic Party, I know it's being written about everywhere, and the three of us have been texting the last 72 hours. I sense the Democratic Party woke up.
Well, the other thing is, I've had the opportunity to see Trump personally. He can be unbelievably empathetic and caring. I thought the way that he handled LA, when his criticism of Karen Bass wasn't personal. It was, these guys want to get their houses back. I sympathize with them. He handled that really well.
Yep.
And I think I've seen him do it. He can comfort people in a time of need in a very, very amazing way. And so I know he can do it. And he started off perfect yesterday, asking for a moment of silence, talking about the loss of life. And again, to your point, Mark, earlier, there's going to be plenty of time to say, hey, we did the investigation and gosh, you know what? It is Pete Buttigieg's fault or something like, we'll have plenty of time to do that. So I think that it would have been helpful to stay on point.
All right, let's switch. Again, if you want to be in on the conversation on this and some other stuff, anything else, please raise your hand. Let's switch to confirmations. Yesterday, we saw 3 hearings, Patel, Gabbard, Kennedy. Patel, by all accounts, is on track to be confirmed. Even though lots happened at both the Kennedy and Gabbard hearings, we still don't know when the votes will be in the committee, and we still don't know what those results will be. We do know the names of some of the senators who have doubts about both of them. We've talked a lot about the focus for Senator Kennedy, or Bobby Kennedy, rather, on Senator Cassidy. There's as many as at least 5 and maybe more Republican senators who are raising questions and have doubts about Tulsi Gabbard. So joining us now is Meghan McCain, regular here on Two Way, and a good, very, very good friend of Tulsi Gabbard. Meghan, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. I'm
Yeah,
a little tired, just FYI. I left my house at 7:30 and I didn't get back till 10:30. So just FYI.
okay.
My voice
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you looking sound great. Go ahead and put up 101. So Meghan is a part of a group of supporters of Tulsi Gabbard, friends of Tulsi Gabbard, who were on Capitol Hill for the hearing yesterday. And she tweeted out this. Meghan, tell everybody, left to right, left is you. Who are the other ladies in that picture?
Okay, so this is Jessica Krause. She runs House and Habit, the giant Substack and Instagram account. That's Taylor Hawthorne. She's a friend and a Capitol Hill staffer. And that is Sage Steele, the former ESPN reporter and big podcast host. That's Danica Patrick, the famous race car driver. And that's my friend Vanessa, who does PR for me and a lot of other political people. And we just are all really good, close friends with Tulsi and felt like she needed a girl squad yesterday. She also had a boys squad. She had a lot of like Congressional Medal of Honor winners, MMA fighters, people from the military, Navy SEALs. But we just felt like we really wanted to show like the girl power behind us. And, Tulsi's only 43. And I think it's important to show women supporting women in these spaces. So we all went together and were there at the hearing there afterward. And we went to a party for her afterward. So it was really fun.
So tell me first what happened yesterday that encouraged you, and then what happened yesterday that discouraged you within the context of the hearing.
Suzanne Collins was much more polite and less aggressive than I expected. Senator Mark Halperin was, I think, really respectful and much less aggressive than I expected. Senator Bennett was, I mean, like the most dramatic, histrionic. Any woman who would behave like that would have an entirely different perspective from the media than him. I was really disappointed in him. But I think overall she did, I'm really biased, so obviously I'm very close friends with her, but I think she did really well and really held her own. I think, no disrespect, Dan, because, I like totally respect you and I respect my friends on the left, but Senator Bennett's behavior is an example of what Americans are sick of. It was designed for YouTube. I am someone who has worked in reality television and daytime TV talk, and I have been around I've been on Watch What Happens Live like 40 times with a lot of drunken housewives. I know when someone is looking for their camera angle and looking for their lighting and looking for the clip that's going to go online, and that's all that man was doing. Like I could see him looking for his camera angle. And I just think like the American public's over it. Ask her a legitimate question if you want, but if you just want to be a star on the internet, everyone's sick of it. And it just felt, it was in the room, it was really, really like tangibly loud too. He made a baby cry afterward, like a woman with a baby. It's true, Sean. And like,
I shouldn't laugh, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
That wasn't the
one
first
more-
hearing. He
one more-
lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meghan, one more
He's making
question.
a spectacle of himself, like in general. Like there are serious issues, and you can ask the people. Tulsi's tough, RFK is tough. Ask them these serious questions, but it was literally he kept cutting her off. He was screaming. No woman could scream at the top of her lungs doing what he did and not be called unhinged and shrill. And so I'm calling him unhinged and shrill because that's what it came across like.
2 more questions for me, and then turn you over to Dan and Sean. First,
Sure.
why won't Tulsi Gabbard say that Snowden is a traitor? Why did she resist
question.
saying that?
I don't think it matters. Like I actually think
Seems to matter to some of the Republican senators.
Yeah, it matters to the octogenarians and the 70-year-olds who are not Iraq and Afghanistan war-weary people who are worried about our civil liberties and the government spying on us. This is an entirely different generation. She's 43. And again, I think the way it plays to old people on Capitol Hill and the way it plays to Politico is very different than the way it plays to Dakota Meyer, who was in the room with her, and Kaj Larson, who is on Navy SEAL.
But those old people have a vote in the Senate.
They do,
So, but I mean,
I
let me ask you,
respect
do
that
you
she
think
didn't back down.
Snowden is a traitor?
Well, my husband doesn't. We had a whole conversation about it. I mean, Yeah, I think I do, but I also like respectfully, my biggest concern is like, my friends in New Orleans, there was a terror attack in January that like my concern is now and the future.
Yeah.
Edward Snowden's not an existential threat to America. He's in Russia. I understand like the larger question, but I think she made herself perfectly clear that she does not agree with anyone releasing, top secret information. I was actually surprised that was the so much of the focus of the hearing
Yeah.
because I just think there's like very grave threats to the homeland that I would have preferred to have her answer questions and questions being asked. And I really respect Senator Gillibrand because I think the questions about China were really important. And
Yep.
I really respected her line of questioning.
Last for me, do you think your friend and Bobby Kennedy, one or both, will be confirmed?
I actually think they're both going to be confirmed. Maybe I'm being bullish or just too optimistic, but I actually do. I was really surprised at Susan Collins. I was really expecting something entirely different, and I think even talking
On which one, Megan? On which, because
on
which one?
Tulsi, I
On
and I
Tulsi.
did not watch RFK yesterday because I was with her all day, so I apologize. But I was actually surprised at Senator Young, how again like just I think there's a way to ask these questions in a way that is not clearly for the internet, and I was very surprised at his sort of like just how dramatic it was.
Yeah.
But I actually do think she'll be confirmed. I think it'll be tight. I think it might take JD Vance to break it. But you guys may have a different opinion. But again, I need to like express she's one of my dearest friends. We talk every single day. Like I am not the right person. I will like I was sitting next to her husband right behind her yesterday. Like I love
Yeah.
her so much. And so if you want more someone who's going to criticize her, Mark, I'm not the person
Yeah.
to
No, that's not why we didn't have you on to
to
criticize. You were there
go.
yesterday and you're a keen observer. Dan.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mark.
so Megan, it sounds from reports like she had good meetings with Republican senators in private leading up to it. And so I guess the question then goes to like both the Snowden and the 702 issue that some other Republicans seem to have. Was she surprised then that it came up in the hearing and they kind of kept coming at her? Because it sounds like she had good private meetings with them and this stuff had been addressed. But there seemed to be a disconnect.
I didn't ask her if she was surprised. I think I will just tell you, like in the room, by the time we got to the second round of questions, when Senator Cotton let everyone ask follow-up questions, someone said, like, I need to talk to you about Edward Snowden. And someone behind me, I don't know who it was, went, Jesus Christ, because it was all they were asking about. And again, like, I'm not trying to like whatever, but there are nominees that have gotten through with very credible sexual assault allegations. And like again, you can have a difference of perspective on this. And one of the things that I'm sure, like, you know, I'm 40, that like having brothers who are both Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans and being around my brother-in-law, my sister-in-laws, like all in the military and people who have served and deployed, they have a very different perspective on the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and things like Edward Snowden than the generation before them. This is an extremely war-weary generation that feels like they've been lied to about weapons of mass destruction. Like my own brothers, like my friends got their legs blown off and committed suicide over a war that may have been unjust. My brothers, I come from a very conservative family, and he won't mind that I said that. He's very open about it. So I just feel like to me, it was like really exemplary of this like very grave generational divide on the perspective of war and the past wars in America. But I know she had mostly positive meetings with Republicans. She had some negative ones. I don't want to expose who because I don't have her permission to. But it hasn't been all like sunshine and rainbows, of course. I was surprised by Senator Young. Just because again, it was so aggressive. And I also feel like she's really earned the right to be called Congresswoman or Commander or Lieutenant Commander, and they were calling her Tulsi.
Colonel.
Colonel, excuse me, yes, Lieutenant Colonel. I'm sorry, I'm very tired, John. And
No, I've never, you're a Navy girl. You can't.
I'm sorry. And I just thought it was really inappropriate that they were calling her Tulsi.
I
Like that
agree. I was
me
pretty
off.
surprised. I was pretty
That
surprised because
it,
they wouldn't call anybody else that,
no, they wouldn't
even
be
someone
like
without a rank.
agree. They wouldn't be like Robert or Cash. And that was even in the room, it was like very jarring. I was like, why are they
Yeah.
calling her that? So
Yeah.
just another
Now,
small.
it is true. It is true that she's got a distinctive name, but I thought that was I just uh, rubbed me the wrong
Do
way.
you think
Sean,
that she'll make it, all three of you? I mean, feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong.
I think if she gets out of committee, she'll be confirmed. I'm not sure she's going to get out of committee.
Yeah,
Ms. McCain.
My sense is there may be more than 4, and so there's safety if there's 5 or 6, and therefore you can't shoot at just one.
Yeah,
Sean.
I'll give you my analysis in a second. So Ms. McCain, 3 things. One, I respect and appreciate your loyalty to your friend. I think it's too far and few in this town that people, I've seen it up and down over 30 years, and it's great to see somebody who is proud of standing by their friend. So I respect that of you. Second, there's 2 aspects that I look at this one. On a personal one, I may view this differently than some of my other contemporaries of this era, but what Edward Snowden did was a crime. He betrayed the trust of America, and he put other lives at risk. He is a traitor to this country, no question about it. From a political standpoint, what I didn't understand about yesterday was she was clear on that. He broke the law. He did this, this, and this, and she is going to be the top spy. You have to, from the top, set the tone that dealing and handling and classified information is not something that can be taken lightly at that level, right? And so if she's weak on him, that's why I think it's a very appropriate line of questioning. Because if someone down low says, well, the director didn't think it was that big of a deal what Snowden did, so who cares? I think that this is in the best interest of releasing, it. So I actually do agree. I don't agree with some of the tone in which people addressed her, but I do think the line of questioning is fair. That being said, from a purely political standpoint, I didn't understand why she couldn't make that final leap, right? She was saying, this is wrong. He broke the law. He should be punished. And then she was like, but that's as far as I'll go. Right. And that's where I was like, just say it. Just say, for those reasons, he is, because by definition, he released secrets. So I kind of just, from a political standpoint, was trying to figure out why she wouldn't just keep going.
I mean, it was clear, just to say, it was clear in the moment it would help her chances of being confirmed.
Correct.
So that it has to be, there's something countervailing. And I just don't know what the countervailing thing would be.
Well, I think the countervailing thing is that she doesn't, that she shares the sentiment that Megan said that so many do of that generation, that like, hey, we were lied to, and that there's a way to do this.
But she didn't enunciate it. She didn't make a principle.
No, that's what I'm saying. I agree. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. I just was like, go there, just say, but for the following enumerated reasons, I don't believe that it concludes like this, or I do. But it just, to me, was like, you're not finishing the sentence.
Do you think it's just qualifying?
Yes.
You mean, Sean, I'm sorry, just to clarify your answer to Megan, you're saying you think it will cost her confirmation, or you think
Yeah, I think when you saw the reaction, she did. I agree with what we've talked about. I think she set herself up really well. She came in strong, and that hearing, thank God it wasn't running on every channel. She did not do her. Hegseth, Cash, even, I think Cash did a great job. Bobby, I think for the most part, really did a good job.
It's funny. I heard he did not do a good job yesterday.
Well, I mean, I think he pushed
about Capitol Hill, he kind of blew it. So
the finance committee one on day 1, I think he did really well. He didn't do as good on day 2, but the thing was, I think that the problem was she shook a lot of people yesterday when she publicly wouldn't seal the deal. And that's the difference. In the private meetings, it's you and the senator, you're going back and forth, and you can assuage them a little bit more. When the senator is sitting there publicly, and you saw some of those comments that they gave to the media afterwards, they have to answer to their electorate that, like, hey, I just saw that.
It's just weird for me. And I think it's weird for a lot of people, particularly women, that like it would be better for her to have like a accused sexual assault allegation where she paid someone off. Like that would be better for her to be confirmed than.
But I think the difference, Megan, is this is her wheelhouse, right?
Not that it's not. It's like this. It's so hypocritical, and respectfully, it is like for women. Like I can't even tell you. Like if she were a man with this kind of background in Congress, combat veteran, the whole thing, I'm telling you, these weren't going to be these kind of.
Oh no! How she was treated, I agree with you on. Yes, it was disrespectful, 100%. But I'm saying that the line of questioning to someone who wants to lead the top intelligence agency in the country about their views on handling of intelligence is a very relevant subject. How she was addressed, dealt with, and the tone and tenor that some of those senators used was highly disrespectful.
Do you think that Trump agrees with you?
No, I think he likes her. He'll fight for her, but she's got a. I don't know that
she will. You think he will, Sean? because he
I think
hasn't.
at some point, look, the issue is going to be Thune, because I don't think she gets out of committee, and Thune has made it clear that it's going to be really hard for.
He left the door
I know
open a crack.
no, but I think what he was trying to do is that, to me, was the dog whistle to say that's going to be the signal that more people are going to come on board. If she doesn't get out of committee, regardless if she goes to the floor or not, she won't have the votes. That's the.
I mean, I think the interesting thing though is, like, for her, Megan, one thing that would give me some optimism. Trump had a bad Wednesday or a bad Tuesday with the freeze. He had somewhat of a bad day yesterday. The headlines today are not great for him. They're great for his base. Blue America's Blue America. If she goes down, like, that's three things, like, to your point, Sean, about the fantastic start. And then you get into RFK. And so, but Mark, I guess, Sean, you're saying he's defending him. She's twisting in the wind this morning. Yeah. It's Friday morning. Where are the dogs to her defense? Well,
I got to be honest with you. Just to be clear, the Cassidy comments on RFK saying, I'm going to have a lot of thinking to do this weekend. I thought that Bobby was going to just sneak over the line and he'd be okay. I also thought he might pick up Sheldon Whitehouse, but that I don't think that's true anymore. I mean, my point is they have a very personal bond that I thought might break through.
Yeah.
But Tulsi, I think, has a problem getting out of committee.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something just really quick. There are a lot of women in my life, including Jessica Krause, who were not Republicans 5 years ago, that because of Tulsi and RFK came to Trump. I mean, a lot. And I would love to see the data on it, particularly with moms post-COVID. If they screw these two people and they don't get confirmed, it is a flesh wound for the Trump administration. If Maha goes down and Tulsi goes down, there will be consequences.
But Megan, here's what I don't know. That's what it goes back to. All she had to do was yesterday say, I agree. And I don't, she created.
Would you rather her lie?
Huh?
Would you rather her lie?
But Megan, if she doesn't want to say he's a traitor, I think she needs to explain in a principled and robust way, not just evade it, right? She didn't address it. So the senators are left wondering. It plays right to their suspicion that there's something off with her when it comes to America's security. If she has a principled position, as your husband does, not a traitor, she needed to say it, I think, to satisfy the senators. There's two things. Pete Hegseth and Team Hegseth set standards on 2 points that I don't see right now, but I want to know if I'm wrong, based on your experience with Tulsi Gabbard and with Kennedy. He went on public offensive, fighting for himself. Now, she was great in her opening statement, but you haven't seen that. You didn't see that in the rest of the hearing in the same way. And two, MAGA was all in on pressuring senators, right? Now, maybe they're not pressuring because they think it'll backfire, because there's some indication of that. But do you sense, leaving aside whether Donald Trump will pick up the phone and call Susan Collins or call Thune, do you get the sense that she's fighting for this and that MAGA's fighting for her, or not?
Oh, yeah. She's fighting like an animal.
Well, look, I mean, here's what I would tell you.
Hold on. What about MAGA? Did she feel MAGA's as supportive of her as they were of Pete Hegseth?
Yes, and it's been, I think interesting for MAGA world that I'm such a strong supporter, and they are as well. I mean, how many people are like Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, me, all on the same page, and I've been around a lot more MAGA people than I ever have been in my life, and I just think that, again, I'm around her a lot. My dad was obviously a very famous politician. You've all been around famous politicians a lot. The way people react to her, I've never seen. It's like, people cry. I think particularly soldiers and people that just feel like the past 6 years have really screwed them. Like, maybe Trump has it too. I'm not around him, but like, people like start shaking. It's a whole different kind of experience. She's sort of a folk hero for a lot of people. And I just think that like she really put her ass out on the line for Trump world in a lot of different ways. And so did RFK. And that coalition, like if I didn't have such personal animus with Trump, like they're much more reflective of my policies that I want. And I just feel like for me, it will be heartbreaking if this doesn't go.
Megan, because
that's why I keep saying to Democrats, one of the top things is how do we win back the RFK Tulsi Gabbard vote?
Yep. Sean, go ahead. Sean, go ahead.
I just like, this is like, to me, this is respectfully simple. I agree with everything. She brings a huge block of people to the party. I've heard her speak at CPAC. Very dynamic, very compelling. I know Jessica well, and
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
know you
other
guys are good friends too. Yeah.
and you're right. Tulsi has brought a lot of people to part. Politically, I want her to be successful. Okay, so let's just take that. I would like, but it's like, here's the bridge. Here's how to get over it. Just, she's got to come out and say, hey, look, I get it. I want to be the nation's top spy. I believe this, and this is wrong. And to your point, like, I don't want her to be disingenuous. Explain to me why this case is different and why as the top spy, because I want someone sitting high up that's leading by example, telling people what to do, how to work.
Can
And
I just say one
I
thing
need to
though?
get over that
Like
bridge.
RFK had a sexual relationship with a journalist a few months ago. Like that's not more of a security issue than her take on Edward Snowden. I just like the double triple standard for her is like it exhausts me. And these things don't come up. Like I'm sorry, but I have major questions and I like RFK, but like the fact that he could possibly be compromised by someone, a journalist or anyone, because clearly he's a philanderer, like that's an issue for me, and that's not coming up. And it's just like,
But I guess the answer is, look, I don't disagree with your analysis, and that's just. But the point is, if that had gotten, if for whatever reason, none of that came up at either of his hearings, and that,
yeah,
I mean,
because men
sorry,
can
Dan, your
have
team missed
sexual
that one.
affairs and it's fine.
But
Had she
Yeah.
done that, I mean,
but here's the point: he got lucky, he missed that one. She got asked about this, and that's why I'm saying all she needs to do is cross the bridge. It's not like it's over. It's here. It is. Go cross it.
maybe she
Yeah.
will not be able to cross the bridge, but I will tell you that Senator Kelly, I had a lovely conversation with him before the confirmation hearing. I thought his questioning was very fair, very respectful, very tonally. Whereas
Is it
Senator
possible he'll vote for her?
I don't think so, but I was just happy. I would just wanted him to be respectful, which he was. So like that's all
Yeah.
I cared about.
Yeah.
And then I just think Susan Collins is a big one too. Like, and then John Cornyn said that he's gonna vote for her too. Look, she's a long shot. She's always a long shot. When she was running for president, by the way, I supported her when she was running for president as a Democrat. That's all these MAGA people are like, I'm best friends with Tulsi. I was like, I've been friends with Tulsi since she was a Democrat running for president. Okay, I've been friends with Tulsi a long time. But I just feel like she's always a long shot. She's not gonna be Miss Congeniality for everybody. She has what some see as unorthodox views on the world, which is fine. It's Trump's choice. If it doesn't get through, she'll be totally fine. She will more than likely, run for office someplace else or do whatever. But it is very sad to me that she can live the kind of life she lives. She doesn't eat meat, she doesn't drink, she does yoga every single day, she meditates, she volunteers with veterans all the time and like ex-opioid addicts and things like that. She lives this like very pure patriotic life. And her politics are like the thing that could take her out. But we have candidates who are more than likely going to get through again, who like have personal lives that I think are national security risks. But apparently America differs. And it is hard for me and it's sad for me to see that. But Sean, maybe your perspective on this being disqualifying is the overwhelming one.
No. But what I'm saying is, it's not. It's literally, this is going to the doctor and saying, here's what's making you sick. Here's how you fix it. It's simple. Mark said, like, she's got a weekend. Go fight.
Write an op-ed on some publication that
This is not
says
over.
here's my view on Snowden.
Right.
All right. I'm going to open up to questions after I give you two bits of news items, and then at the end we're going to sneak in.
I'm like on a 10 about it. I just love her very much.
No, Megan,
Well, then I guess what we're saying is,
you're fighting for your friend.
Then sit down with her and say, hey, the advice is you've got a shot over this weekend to make the case for yourself. Use it.
Yeah. Two pieces of news. Then we're going to open it up for your questions. Raise your hand if you want to get in. At the end, we're going to do McLaughlin-style predictions on tariffs and close the show. But I want to get everybody in, not head down the tariff road. Rick Grenell, the president's special envoy for special missions, is supposed to meet in Venezuela today, according to CNN, with Venezuelan President Maduro. And the president himself is meeting with the CEO of NVIDIA today, Jensen Huang, at the White House. All right. Opening up to your questions, as always, please, peace, love, and understanding. Presumption of grace for all. Let us know where you are and what is on your mind.
Mark, you didn't say it, but it's in the chat.
The chat agrees with me.
It's in the. People are asking in the chat. What do you two think of RFK getting through? It's people are asking because we've spent some time.
I think it's binary now. I think if Chairman
Cassidy.
What's
Cassidy.
Cassidy is Chairman Dr. Senator Cassidy's forum. I think he'll be confirmed. If he's not, he won't. And I know Cassidy decently. I can't get a read on where he is.
If they don't confirm RFK, the wrath of mothers in this country, you have no, I mean, you have no idea. Like, it will be so cataclysmic, and it will be a big problem for Trump land.
Yeah. Steve, welcome in. Tell folks, well, you're in Reno. We see that, so we know
In Reno, that's me. Yeah.
What's on your mind, sir?
Thanks, guys.
For
Well, I
coming.
watched both, recordings of the hearings, and what a ridiculous process. I'm not sure this is what the founding fathers had in mind. It should be, I think, bully and consent, not advise. And, I'd advise not having any of those histrionic Democratic senators on the platform, since, this is peace, love, and understanding. I was very frustrated with listening to them. I think Tulsi was not really given time to explain, and I saw the same thing with RFK, yes or no, with some of the questions from the senators to questions that weren't yes or no questions. So I think, technically it was Snowden a traitor. I guess everybody thinks so. I think, though, that what he divulged and uncovered was so critical to us as a country and our Constitution that it's possibly worth a pardon. And again, it's not a yes or no question in my mind. Like Daniel Ellsberg, was he a traitor? I mean, maybe what he divulged didn't really cause anybody to get killed, but it certainly divulged a lot about the back room and what was going on. So I guess if there's a question, I'd love to hear some defense of these positions that the Democratic senators have, or even Cassidy for that matter, in not confirming these two, what I think are great candidates for their positions.
Well,
Who wants to take that on? Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, two things. One, respectfully, if you have watched hearings in the past, either with cabinet secretaries who are required to go up there once or twice a year, or in their confirmations, it is bipartisan outrage. I mean, see the Benghazi hearing. I mean, that was a joke, right? I mean, just the screaming and throwing out things that were absurd. And my former boss, Hillary Clinton, sat there and smiled and had to shake her head, right, with the absurdity. So I join you. I wish people would not, and Megan's spot on. If you show outrage, it's clipped and you are fundraising off it within minutes, right? I mean, there's a strategy to the faux outrage, or I call it faux outrage. I think for Democrats on, I'll take Bobby Kennedy first. To them, they look at something like HHS and say, here are the 5 things that they're supposed to do: administer, Medicare and Medicaid in this. Bobby Kennedy didn't seem to know his facts. He didn't seem to know stuff, and he doesn't have experience with that. And so to them, who see these agencies as largely good and doing and having done good work, they think he's totally unqualified. If you're a Maha person, you say he is putting new issues on the table that HHS should have been focusing on or needs to additionally focus on. And I don't really care if, Medicaid, Medicare, that plane's going to land and fly kind of without his leadership, so to speak.
Right.
I want him on these new issues. And that is the split that with several Trump nominees, you saw this Democratic outrage of like, how could you confirm somebody with that background? Those, Megan's highlighted a few of them have personal issues that when other times would have been disqualifying. You love Trump, you're like, yeah, focus on DEI. The war fighters will go fight the war, but like reform that place. So Democrats just have a different point of view, and they've been expressing it.
Megan or Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look, both sides play. I think the process is a joke.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Both sides will do it. What troubles me is that it's worked out well where Republicans control the Senate right now, and you've got a Senate. But when you have an opposing flip at some point in the future, that it's going to be very difficult because the president needs a cabinet that they want. And I would agree with this. I think the opposing party needs to bring it out, right? Biden got his cabinet. I think some of them were highly unqualified. Pete Buttigieg, number one. Dan McDonough. Anyway, and then so, but they have a right. The president wins the election. They get to put their people in place. And so I just think that we're playing a very dangerous game when we do this kind of stuff. It's one thing to ask questions and to make it clear and to expose issues that you think you want to make sure are relevant on the public, in the public space you have a concern with, and to get answers. But these things have been, I mean, 5 minutes, yes or no, yes, no, yes, no to any kind of complex question. I hate that.
Yeah.
I just think it's unfair. There's very few public policy questions that are black and white, very few. And so to tell someone yes or no, can you tell me, would you declare? I mean, so I just think the whole process has become a joke, and I'm concerned about it going forward.
By the way,
Megan,
Bernie Sanders embarrassed himself trying to catch RFK. I mean, that was embarrassing.
Well, that's a follow-up. RFK kind of got testy with him. In fact, he was calling him Bernie, right? When he was calling him Bobby. So, but would that help a candidate if they push back and get as emotional as possible, or do they have to kiss ass in order to get?
Bernie's, I think, a unique character because he's fine.
Oh.
He doesn't. But I will tell you that I thought that the best line when Bobby pushed back on him and talked about the amount of money, and he goes, "Senator, I raised $200 million. I mean, I was like, so your case is you raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and this was only a fraction of it. That really didn't sound too populist to me.
No.
Yeah. Steve, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Very grateful to you. All right, bringing in two folks at once here. Ask them both to unmute Yadira and Uralina. I said that right. Thank you both for joining. Uralina, you first. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind, please.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah. You're all good. We hear you fine.
Oh, great. I want to address what Sean was saying about
First, tell us where you are, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm in New York.
Great. Go ahead.
I wanted to address what Sean was saying about Tulsi. It was clear during the hearing that they just wanted her to say that he's a traitor, but I don't know why the senators or anyone would want her to lie. Like, I'm not a big fan of Tulsi. I never have been, but I was impressed that it was very clear that they wanted her to just say it, and she refused to. It's the opposite experience that I had watching Amy Coney Barrett, who just lied and said that Roe was safe, right? That's how she got on the Supreme Court. But Tulsi refused to just say he's a traitor, and that actually impressed me.
Well, can
Great. Thank you for
I want
that.
to be clear on this because I'm seeing it in the chat as well. I don't want her to lie. I want her to tell us what her view is. If she has mitigating circumstances that she thinks are specific to this case, just tell me why. I don't know every aspect of the Snowden case. And clearly this is something that she believes passionately about, right? So I don't want her to lie. I don't want her to call Edward Snowden anything that she doesn't believe in her heart or her, right? But I want her to tell me why. I don't, like I said, and I don't necessarily think I disagree. She might have a very strong argument. I just want to hear it. That's it.
Okay, Yadira, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo with Megan that Maha moms really do care, and it is a big issue. I've been following RFK since the COVID era and everything else that was going on there. I think it's very easy for people to forget what was done during that time, what was done to kids in schooling, and all based on things that weren't as science-based as they claim to be. But so I'm also just rooting for him. But I had a question for Dan. I did see some clips yesterday on Twitter about DNC leadership that was done by MSNBC. And they were still talking about systemic racism, and they all raised their hands saying, that the loss for Kamala was because of misogyny. And so I just wanted to see, why are we still sticking on with that theme? I mean, that was a pretty big forum that they could have captivated a different talking point.
Yeah, that is, God, I was hoping that was not going to come up today. That was ridiculous that members of the party are still pointing their finger at that. I mean, Mark and Sean and I have talked about this. I'm still surprised Harris has not had more of an exam as a, quality of her candidacy, and people haven't discussed it. I thought that, two things that happened. Doug Sosnick's op-ed, which Mark referenced, if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it, in which he talks about kind of this, just trying to appeal to all these different slices of the electorate. And Third Way, the organization that put out a letter ahead of the DNC vote saying the party in 2028 has got to stop these litmus tests of surveys, you know, kind of just begging to these interest groups. It's crazy. Hopefully we figure out what we are for and stop blaming the people who don't vote for us are misogynist or racist, or, you know, it's not going to help us win elections.
Yeah, and it kind of makes it
And I
seem
don't believe it's true. I mean, that's the
no.
thing as we talk about the truth. It's
Well,
just not true.
well, and if we talk about too, like, oh, Trump had a bad day yesterday, but when you still have those talking points being the opposing view, and you see those, it doesn't really give you guys much teeth to say, oh, look how bad Trump is, because he's still governing a lot better and not focusing on those issues. So it would be good for them to move on. And obviously, I don't want them to win because I'm a Republican, but still, let's get off that topic.
It's good advice, particularly from a Republican.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Patty, welcome, and tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind, please.
I'm in Southwest Michigan. I think I have a couple of points on the Megan. I think that Tulsi would just do very well to figure out the comments that have been given today and take the wind out of their sails. Because I think they'll go back wanting to keep pushing that. And if she can figure out a way to do that, I just so love your fierceness in friendship. It's just wonderful. I want to go back a little bit to Trump's comments, because I had a little bit of buyer's remorse yesterday, hearing that same sound and that the way the president handled things yesterday. I felt that for someone who's talking about common sense, understanding how to approach the issue lacked total common sense yesterday. I'm just going to say it, and I voted for him. Is there, my big question, and maybe it's for you, Sean, is can someone go back and take that and play it back to him so that he isn't, you know, stepping in it every time? It's because it's horrible. It was just a horrible feeling to me yesterday to hear that, because I felt LA was a masterclass. It was a masterclass and historic in terms of the way he cut through all the baloney. And he made good points, but they were totally lost in the delivery.
So, I mean, he obviously watches a lot, so he sees the reaction. I mean, you don't need to go tell him. He's flipping around. He'll see what CNN's saying. He'll see what the reaction is on other stations. And you know, for me, I feel like sometimes, like, when you've got a friend, and I know how good he can be, and you're right, in LA, I thought he was masterful, because it was authentic. Like, he was pushing back against Karen Bass, and it's like, it wasn't like it was personal or political. It wasn't like you're a Democrat, you're not. It was, these people are hurting. They want to get to their houses. They want to start rebuilding, and I want to help them. And I know these guys. I mean, I actually thought it was super Trump, because there was no BS. There was no. I mean, it was so authentic. I also think yesterday was authentic, and like I said, for me, I just know how good he is. When somebody, you know, whether I've had personal experience with it, where he's sort of. He knows exactly what to say at the right time. And I just thought, okay, today there's a lot of people hurting. This is your wheelhouse. You know that, right? And so he sees everything. Don't worry. I mean, like, so it'll be interesting to me. He's got a 3:00 executive order signing session. I'm sure he's going to get asked about it again. I'm sure he's going to comment. And so we'll see.
Because truly, I don't think he has to bring up the other side of any of it. Everybody knows where everything came from.
Yep.
Anyway,
thank you, Patty. Thank you, Patty. Grateful to you. Thank you. Megan, what's Tulsi doing this weekend?
What's she doing now? We can go long. Let's bring her in.
I'm sorry. What's Congresswoman Gabbard doing this weekend?
Thank you. I think she's working. I'm not gonna tell you where she is, but I talked to her this morning, and she's doing good, and very entertained by a lot of the memes about her on social media, and I think appreciates that people think her husband is so handsome that she is. Yeah. But I think people
he's
always
very
assume
handsome.
she's married to
He's objectively handsome, and he's very soft spoken.
He looks like Keanu Reeves. He's a very nice. But I also just want to thank you and Dan and Sean for being so polite and understanding about my passion. I'm sure you've all had close friends that you want to defend and feel territorial of, and she's really just been through the ringer like the past few months, and I'm just tired of it. That's all.
Yeah. Megan, do you know when the vote's going to be?
I heard Monday or Tuesday. She has to
Yeah.
fill out written questions. I know that's what she's doing today too.
Right.
To
We call
present.
that homework, Senate homework.
Yeah, last night I was talking to one of the people who work with her, and she was like, "And now we have to answer all the," and I was like, "Just all these questions." And she did I was exhausted after the first round, and then she had to do a private one. I was like, "Oh my gosh." So, and we'll see, and I'll, talk to you guys anytime. I don't, Sean, you're making me feel less bullish on her chances, but you know,
Yeah,
politics.
and like I said, this is like the teacher that sends you home with the thing and says, "Look, I'm giving you a chance to do it over again. Like, get out there, fight." And this is not over. She is. I'm not by any means. I'm just saying when these senators walked out of the room, and they were skittish, that gave me some pause and said, "Okay." But to me, that was their signal of saying, "Go home, do your homework, and come back." So she's got a whole weekend. Go fight.
I
Go ahead.
No, go.
What was it like being on the Hill? Like, what was like the sights and sounds and atmosphere for you? Because you don't spend a ton of time up there anymore, right?
I don't. Let me tell you, I was texting with Senator Cruz's team, and I was like, "We're gonna come by and crash your office and say hi to him." And I have a close relationship with him too, so it wouldn't be weird. But we were trying to connect. But he had to go vote on Cash's, Mr. Patel, excuse me, his hearings. But I was laughing. I was like, I feel like even though I've matured so much, I'm 40. I was like, I still feel like this kid that's like, let's go crash his office. So
Right.
we had
And
so much fun too.
do the Capitol Police and the elevator operators all know you?
A few do, yes. It felt, and I
Yeah.
knew some of the reporters and stuff, which was, I mean, look, it's an honor to ever be invited to those things. It's such a privilege. And you really, no matter if you're on the left or the right, you feel like just, it's a marble building and
Yeah.
everyone's up and excited. So, and then just being with my friends, supporting her just felt fun, I
Yeah.
mean, and also we're all women that have sort of been canceled for our conservative opinions, and still remain strong. Like Danica Patrick just really put herself on the line, and Sage Steele, and it's just like to have that kind of sisterhood has been really wonderful for me and Tulsi for the past. It's really hard. It is a difficult thing to be a public conservative woman given the kind of backlash not only that you get like in the media in general, but women hate you because women think you're like a Handmaid's Tale traitor, that we're like
Right.
leading everybody to the slaughterhouse. So
Yeah.
I'm tired, but I had a nice time yesterday.
I've been around Danica Patrick. I don't really know her. I spent some time with Sage Steele. I know Jessica. I know you. You all are just incredible badasses, and your friend is lucky to have you on her side up
We
there.
may have gone to the monocle for a drink after between.
Isn't
Very
it closing?
very
Did I
appropriate.
hear that? The monocle's
Is
closing?
it?
Yes, I
Oh.
think I'm pretty
I think
Surprised
the
it
more
survived
relevant point is
COVID.
how does it stay open?
Yeah, I'm surprised it survived COVID. Megan, very grateful to you. If you want to come back tonight, Monday, whenever, we'd love to have whatever updates you have, and we're super appreciative of you. And as
Thank you, Mark.
as Dan and Sean said, we're all super impressed by your loyalty to your friend. She's very lucky to have you.
I just get heated and I'm feisty, so I'm sorry if
Yeah.
am getting a little,
Those are
like,
good attributes.
And ask your husband if he'll come on Monday to explain why he's not a traitor. We'd like to have that explanation
We had a whole
too.
conversation about it last night. He was like, I agree with her. And I was like, didn't
Yeah.
know that hot take, but okay, great.
Thank you, Megan. Great to see you.
Bye.
All right, guys, real quick, put up the Wall Street Journal headline. I think this whole tariff thing is all just bluffs. I just think he'll impose them if he has to, but then he'll go on Truth Social and take them off. I think that like the Colombians, the Canadians, and the Mexicans will fold. But interested in what you guys think. Sean, will there be tariffs this weekend or not?
This weekend, yes. Monday, no.
So put him on. He'll just go on Truth Social and say tariffs imposed. They'll cave on Monday or Tuesday, and then he'll go back on Truth and say, just kidding. That's what I think.
Or the other thing is, does he buy time? Effective February 15th.
Right.
But my understanding is that Canada is making progress on a lot of the border stuff.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I see a world in which he buys time because he says, we are making great progress on the border. I will be imposing tariffs by the end of the month if they don't.
Yep. Dan, agree, disagree?
I think the fascinating thing is Canada seems nervous and doesn't want him. Mexico has begun to say he doesn't have the kahunas to do this, and they're calling his bluff. So I think he does them. And I said this the other day, he will declare victory. He doesn't know what victory is yet, but he'll declare it and he'll define it on his terms.
All right, we'll see. Tonight, 6 p.m.
Whatever it
Eastern
is.
time, 6 p.m. Eastern time on Two-Way Tonight, our special guest, Mark Andreessen. Super looking forward to talking to him about tech, about Silicon Valley and Donald Trump, about AI. Amazing opportunity for you all to be able to ask him questions. So please join us tonight. Sunday, some of you will see us in Washington. Dan, Sean, and I will be at our event. Dan, what are you looking forward to at that event?
Oh man, I love DC. It'll be great to be down there. Look forward to meeting people. And I'm sure we'll have new content to discuss by Sunday.
Sean?
I'm just looking forward to seeing everyone in person.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. And then Monday, we'll have our regular show at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And then a special show at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're a second installment of The Diner. I'll be sending out to my Substack later today and putting it on Twitter some documents you can look at, a poll, and some of the preliminary things Americans are saying about this debate. Great debate. Should America buy Greenland or acquire Greenland somehow or not? And Monday, 2 p.m., David Burrell and I will be hosting all of you. Please come ready to discuss your point of view. We'll present sort of some point of view of your fellow country women and men, and then we're going to want to hear from you. So we'll see you Monday, too, and then regular Two-Way Tonight at 6. So that's a lot coming up and more announcements to come soon. Very grateful to Megan for being part of this, for everybody who has questions. Guys, I'll see you Sunday night, and I'll see everybody else tonight at 6, and then see you guys Sunday. Thanks for watching.
Then.